The first person who spoke for me at the hearing was one of the boys who had made high school miserable. Tyler Bell stood near the back of the library meeting room with both hands in the pockets of his work jacket. He had gained weight, lost most of his hair, and looked more nervous than I felt. 10 years earlier, Tyler had held a freshman's backpack while 3 of his friends cornered the kid in a service hallway. Now he was the only person in the room who could explain why the town had blamed me for what happened next. At the front table, Owen Price opened a folder and adjusted the microphone. Owen was 35, the same age as me. He owned part of a local construction company, administered the largest community Facebook group in Ashford, and sat on enough volunteer committees that people assumed he was neutral before he said a word. "We are not here to retry anyone's high school years," he said. "We are here because Mr. Brooks is asking this cooperative to trust him with access to 3 buildings occupied by elderly residents." He looked toward the 5 members of the housing board, not toward me. Then he listed what he called a pattern. I had reported 4 classmates, and 2 of them repeated a year. I had left Ashford soon after graduation. I had stopped answering old friends for more than a year. I had returned and been involved in a physical incident at a café. I had filed complaints after local businesses questioned whether they should hire me. Every sentence contained a piece of truth. That was why the story had survived. My attorney, Rachel Kim, wrote something on her legal pad and slid it toward me. Let him finish. I kept my hands under the table. Behind Owen sat residence business owners, 3 men. I had gone to school with my cousin Lena and Nate Collins, an old friend whose father's funeral I had missed during the worst year of my life. My mother was not there. The library had no elevator, and her repaired hip still hurt on stairs. She was watching the live stream from the apartment she had almost decided to leave because neighbors kept asking whether her son was dangerous. Owen closed his folder. "A community is allowed to consider risk," he said. The chairman nodded toward Rachel. Rachel did not stand. She said, "We agree." Owen's expression changed for half a second. Rachel continued. "The question is whether this review has been evaluating risk or repeating information its own advisor knew was incomplete." She placed 4 items on the table: the full café video, a set of coordinated online messages, the source files for 27 objection letters, and a 46-page school report that had spent a decade in an archive box. Owen looked at the last document. For the first time that evening, he stopped looking calm. "My name is Evan Brooks. I grew up in Ashford, Pennsylvania, in a narrow house behind a tire shop. My father repaired commercial laundry equipment. My mother worked at the same dental office for 31 years and kept cash in labeled envelopes because she never trusted a bank balance to remember the property tax. We were not poor in the way people notice. We had food, heat, and 1 week at the same state park every summer. We were also 1 transmission repair away from borrowing money most years. I learned early to make things last. I fixed radios, replaced outlets, and built computers from parts other people had thrown away. At school, that made teachers like me and boys my age think I was strange. Grant Keller, Derek Shaw, Mason Pike, and Tyler Bell did not beat me every day. They were more ordinary than that. They took food from my tray when teachers were not looking. They changed the language settings on library computers before my presentations. They moved my backpack and watched me search for it. Someone called my house twice, pretending to be a teacher, and told my mother I had been caught stealing. Once a dead mouse appeared in my locker. Each event was small enough to be called a joke. Together, they changed how I walked through the building. The incident that mattered happened near the end of junior year. A freshman named Lucas Trent owed Grant $20 from a card game. Grant and Derek followed him into a service hallway beside the gym. Mason stood near the door. Tyler held Lucas's backpack. I was carrying a box of cables to the computer lab when I heard Lucas say he did not have the money. Grant shoved him into a metal cabinet. Lucas hit the side of his head. The sound was sharper than I expected. He slid down and touched his ear. There was blood on his fingers. Grant saw me and said, "Keep walking." Oh, I did not. A teacher came around the corner less than a minute later. The boys said Lucas had tripped. Lucas repeated their version because Grant was standing 2 feet away. I said what I had seen. That statement became the part everyone remembered. What people forgot or never knew was that the hallway had a security camera. A student had recorded part of the confrontation on a phone. 2 staff members had prior reports, and the school investigation uncovered theft threats, chronic absences, missing credits, and a stolen exam. Grant and Derek repeated part of the year because they did not have enough credits after suspension and previous attendance problems. Mason went to an alternative program. Tyler returned under a behavior agreement. I did not request any of those outcomes. I did not even know the school could make them happen. Within a week, a different story began circulating. According to that version, Grant had made fun of my shoes. I had gone to the principal with a folder of minor complaints, and 4 boys had lost a year of their lives because I could not handle embarrassment. The person who told that story most effectively was Owen Price. Owen was not one of the 4. He worked on morning announcements, filmed school events, and knew which teachers would talk when students asked the right questions. He sounded informed without sounding involved. Grant liked Owen's version because it gave him one person to blame. Other students liked it because unfair punishment was more interesting than accumulated consequences. I tried correcting people for several months. Then I stopped. After graduation, I moved to Pittsburgh for technical school and later to Chicago for work. I installed access control system security cameras, network cabling, and intercoms in offices and apartment buildings. Most of the work happened above ceilings or after closing time. I liked jobs where a system either worked or did not. Ashford became a place I visited for holidays and funerals. When my father died at 59, Grant sent a message through someone else saying he hoped I would not use the funeral to start trouble. I had not spoken to him in 11 years. I understood then that the story had kept going without me, and I still chose to ignore it. My marriage ended when I was 32. Claire wanted children. I kept postponing every decision until work and savings felt safer. She said living with me felt like waiting for permission from a spreadsheet. We separated without betrayal or drama. 6 months later, I was laid off and slid into a depression I called exhaustion. I stopped answering friends, missed birthdays, and did not attend Nate's father's funeral, even though his family had treated me like one of their own. I eventually returned to work, but I never explained the silence to the people it hurt. Then my mother fell on ice outside a pharmacy and broke her hip. She lived alone in the same house behind the tire shop. Surgery went well. Recovery did not make the practical problems disappear. She needed groceries, rides, laundry, a safer shower, and someone to replace the loose front railing before she came home. I asked my employer for several weeks of remote work. They said the current project required field attendance. I resigned and returned to Ashford. My plan was to stay 3 months. During those 3 months, a daycare waited 19 days for a company to replace a failed camera. A dentist paid someone from 2 counties away to repair a door controller. The manager of a storage facility asked whether I knew anyone who could update an intercom. I did the first few jobs as side work. Then I registered Brooks Building Systems, bought a used white van, rented a small unit behind an auto parts store, and ordered magnetic signs with my name and phone number. The business was modest. That was fine. I needed enough work to pay rent, help my mother, and avoid returning to Chicago with another failure I did not want to explain. For 7 weeks, things went better than expected. Then my cousin Lena asked me to meet her for coffee. Lena managed North Street Coffee, a narrow place with 6 patio tables and a security camera above the front window. She had been younger than us in school and knew the broad outline of what happened without inheriting every opinion. We were halfway through our drinks when Shane Morris joined the table without being invited. I remembered Shane from school. He had never bullied me directly. He had also never missed an opportunity to laugh when someone else did. He asked how long I planned to stay in town. I said I did not know. He asked whether people in Chicago knew why I had left Ashford. Lena said he left for work. Shane smiled. I asked Evan. I told him I was there for coffee, not high school history. Oh, he said Grant had lost a football scholarship because of me. Grant had never been offered one. He said Mason's family almost broke apart after the school punishment. I had no idea whether that was true. Then he leaned closer and said, "You ran because everybody figured out what you were." I stood too quickly. That was my first mistake. Shane put one hand on the back of my chair and the other on the front of my jacket. "Still need somebody else to fight for you," he said. I knocked his hand away harder than I needed to. His leg caught the chair behind him. He fell sideways into another table. A cup hit the floor and broke. Nobody was seriously hurt. The entire physical part lasted a few seconds. A person across the patio recorded only the end. By that evening, a 4-second clip was on Ashford Community Watch, the Facebook group Owen administered. It showed me standing, my arm moving, and Shane falling. It did not show the conversation. It did not show his hand on my jacket. Owen's caption read, "Former Ashford student involved in café altercation after returning to town. He did not call me violent. He did not need to." Oh, more than 300 comments supplied the rest. People wrote that I had always been unstable. Someone said I had assaulted 4 students in high school and blamed them. Someone else said I had been expelled. I graduated on time. Lena commented that the video was incomplete. Owen removed her comment because it contained what he called an unverified accusation. The police called the next morning. Shane had made a report but had not decided whether to pursue charges. I gave a statement. Lena gave one. The officer asked for the cafe surveillance. The owner was out of town and Lena could not access the recorder without him. The officer said they would follow up. I assumed the full video would clear the situation. That was my second mistake. A true fact does not automatically travel as far as a useful rumor. 2 days after the cafe incident, the director of a daycare canceled a camera installation. She did not accuse me of anything. She said a parent had raised a concern and the board wanted time to review it. The following morning, Denise Holloway, operations manager for a property company, postponed a 6-building access control project I had spent a week pricing. Oh, the contract was worth almost $40,000 in labor and equipment. I had planned to use the deposit to replace my van's brakes and hire part-time help. Denise called from her car. "I am not supposed to tell you this," she said, "but Owen sent the board the cafe video and screenshots from the community page. Why is he involved? He sits on the Business Association's Contractor Review Committee. I did not know there was a Contractor Review Committee. It is informal. Informal meant it could influence decisions without publishing rules. I asked whether Owen had sent the complete video. He sent what was online. Did he mention the police have not charged me? No. The project was postponed for 60 days. That was long enough to damage my cash flow and short enough that Denise's company could claim it had not rejected me. Then the online reviews started. One said I had threatened an elderly customer over a bill. Another said I had a history of entering homes when residents were not present. A third warned parents not to let me near schools. I had never done business with any of the accounts. No, I reported the reviews. One disappeared. The others stayed. My rating dropped from 5 stars to 2.9 in less than a week. The city's small business office then paused my $8,000 equipment grant because an anonymous complaint claimed I had failed to disclose a pending assault case. There was no pending case. I provided the police report number and the officer's email confirming no charge had been filed. The grant coordinator said the application would undergo additional review. I asked for the policy that allowed an anonymous criminal allegation to delay a grant. She said she would check. That question was the first useful thing I did. Rumors between people were hard to control. Rumors used inside a process left emails, dates, and decision points. I requested the contractor review criteria from the Business Association. I asked the property company to preserve communications related to my bid. I requested a written explanation from the grant office. I did not threaten to sue anyone. The next morning, Owen posted, "Some people respond to community concerns with dialogue. Others respond with paperwork and pressure." He did not name me. The comments did. My mother saw the post because a neighbor sent it to her. She asked why I had not told her about the canceled work. I said I was handling it. She said my father had used the same sentence whenever he did not want her to know he was worried. A week later, she stopped attending her card game. She said her hip was sore. Then Marjorie, one of the women in the group, called the house and asked whether I had really assaulted someone at a café. My mother answered no. Marjorie said she was only asking because people were worried. After the call, my mother sat at the kitchen table with her walker beside her and said I could sell the house. The house had belonged to my parents for 38 years. Why would you do that? Because I am tired of people asking me questions they already answered for themselves. I told her moving would not fix anything. She said, "Neither did you leaving the first time." That hurt because it was partly true. The pressure arrived in small ways. A cashier at the hardware store asked whether I was staying out of trouble. Someone stuck a label reading "snitch" on the side of my van. So, a blocked number called my mother's house after midnight and played a recording of people laughing. The police documented the call but could not identify the number from one incident. I installed 2 cameras at my mother's house instead of buying the cable tester I needed for work. Then the van's brakes began grinding. The shop quoted $940. I replaced the front brakes and delayed the rear. I paid my workshop rent 4 days late and started checking the bank balance before buying groceries. During the same period, old friends became difficult to reach. Nate Collins had been one of my closest friends after high school. His father owned a print shop and had fed me dinner whenever my parents worked late. During my depression, Nate called repeatedly. I ignored him. Then his father died, and I did not attend the funeral. When I returned to Ashford, I asked Nate to meet for coffee. He agreed, canceled an hour before rescheduled, canceled again, and stopped responding. I saw him 2 days later carrying signs into the community center while Owen held the door. Nate looked embarrassed. "Oh, I have a lot going on," he said. I said I understood. I did understand one part. Owen's committees bought printing signs, event programs, and campaign mailers. Nate's shop depended on local work. I did not understand whether Nate was avoiding me because of Owen or because I had abandoned him when his father died. The second explanation was harder to face. Tyler Bell sent me a private message the following night. "The video is cut. Do not react online." Tyler had been one of the 4 boys in the hallway. He had also become the only one who ever apologized. We had reconnected by accident 5 years earlier on a commercial project in Chicago. He worked for a fire alarm subcontractor. We ate lunch, and he told me he had been an idiot in high school. I said I had been afraid of him. He did not ask me to forgive him. "We worked together twice, then lost contact." I replied, "Do you know who sent Owen the clip?" Tyler answered, "Not yet. He is pushing people to keep the story going. Be careful who asks to meet." I asked why he was helping me. He did not reply. 4 days later, Lena recovered the cafe surveillance. The owner returned, opened his office, and exported the recording. The camera covered the patio from above. The microphone near the service window captured enough audio to establish the sequence. "Oh," Shane approached without being invited. He insulted me. He put a hand on my chair. He grabbed my jacket. I stood and removed his hand. The video also showed something I did not like seeing. After his hand came off my jacket, I stepped toward him instead of stepping back. I had not punched or kicked him. He fell because his leg caught the chair. But I had not behaved as calmly as I had described myself behaving. Lena watched me watch the recording. "You still did not attack him," she said. "I wanted to. That is not the same thing." "No, but it matters." She made 3 copies. 1 went to the police. 1 went to the cafe owner. 1 went to me. The officer called the next afternoon. After learning the full footage would remain attached to the report, Shane decided not to pursue charges. I asked whether the police could issue a correction. The officer said there was no charge to dismiss and no public announcement to make. That was reasonable. It was also useless. The edited clip had nearly 10,000 views. I sent Owen the complete video and the police confirmation. I asked him to remove or correct the post. "Oh," he replied. "The page accurately states that an incident occurred. We do not adjudicate private disputes through social media. I asked why Lena's comment had been removed if the page did not adjudicate disputes. He did not answer. Instead, he posted a poll asking whether contractors with documented altercations should disclose them before entering residential properties. That evening, someone emailed the owner of the auto parts store where I rented my workshop and claimed police activity was taking place at my unit. No police officer had ever visited the unit. The owner allowed me to stay after I showed him the records, but he said he would require an additional security deposit at renewal. I had 6 weeks to find it. That was when I contacted Rachel Kim. Rachel's office was above a pharmacy in the next town. She handled small business disputes, employment matters, and the kind of civil cases that did not become television dramas. She reviewed my folder without reacting to every new detail. When I finished, she asked, "What do you want?" "I want the posts corrected. I want the reviews removed. I want the contracts reconsidered." "Do you want to punish Owen?" "Yes." The answer came out before I could make it sound better. Rachel nodded. "That is honest. It is also not an objective I can build toward." She explained the legal difference between opinion and a false factual claim. Calling me unstable was an opinion. Saying I had a pending assault charge was factual and false. Saying I had threatened an elderly client was factual and apparently invented. Using incomplete or fabricated material inside a contractor review process could support claims for business interference if we could connect it to actual decisions. Rachel sent preservation letters to Owen Shane, the business association, the property company, and the accounts connected to the most specific reviews. She did not file a lawsuit. Owen posted that a local contractor was responding to community criticism with legal threats. Rachel called and told me not to reply. I was not going to. "You were thinking about it." "Yes, thinking is free. Posting is expensive." Her retainer went on to a credit card. My business account had $412 after rent. I took subcontract work in the next county, spending money on fuel and materials weeks before being paid. Some evenings, I drove 2 hours for a short job. I did not tell my mother I was considering closing the shop and finding work elsewhere. Tyler asked to meet at a gas station outside town. He chose a busy place with cameras parked near the road and kept the engine running. When I got into his truck, he handed me his phone. The screen showed a group chat called Ashford Alumni. Members included Grant, Derek, Shane, Owen, several former athletes, and local business owners. Tyler had left the group 2 months earlier, but an old cloud backup preserved years of messages. Owen had posted the café clip before publishing it publicly. His message said, "He finally did what everyone knew he would. Keep comments focused on pattern, not this one incident." Grant replied that people were finally seeing the truth. Shane wrote that he should have fallen harder. Owen answered, "Do not joke in writing. We need concerned, not excited." There were messages asking who had hired me. Derek posted the daycare's name. Another member said his sister had a child there and would call. Owen wrote, "No threats. Ask whether a proper background review was done." Then came the reviews. Derek wrote that his wife had created a new account and needed wording. Owen sent a paragraph almost identical to the review accusing me of threatening an elderly customer. I looked up from the phone. "Why were you still in this group?" Tyler stared through the windshield. "Because Grant added me years ago. Because reading and saying nothing was easier than being the next person they discussed. That is not a good reason. No. Why help now? My daughter found the chat open on my laptop." He rubbed his face. She asked why grown men were still trying to ruin somebody from high school. He looked at me. I told her it was complicated. She said that was what adults said when they did not want to admit something was wrong. Tyler had more than the recent messages. He had searched the old backup after seeing the café post. One message came from senior year. Owen had written, "They think Evan told the principal. Keep it that way. If Grant finds out where the video came from, I am done." I read it twice. "What video?" Tyler said the hallway. According to Tyler, Owen had been filming material for morning announcements near the gym and captured part of Grant shoving Lucas. Owen sent the clip to the vice principal from a school account and then blamed me because he feared Grant. Oh, a 17-year-old protecting himself was understandable. What does that have to do with 10 years of this, I asked. Tyler gave me back my own question with his expression. At first, he needed Grant to keep believing you did it. Later, people knew Owen as the guy who understood what happened. He organized reunions, ran alumni pages, settled arguments. Changing the story meant admitting his reputation started with a lie. Do you have proof besides the screenshot? Not yet. Tyler's brother worked for a subcontractor that depended on Owen's construction company. If you use this, my brother could lose work, he said. Then talk to a lawyer before you give me anything. He looked surprised. You are protecting us. I am protecting his children. They did not do anything. Tyler emailed the screenshots to Rachel after consulting an attorney. He also agreed to let an independent technician preserve the phone backup and create a report showing timestamps and file hashes. The evidence was useful. It was not enough by itself. Screenshots could be challenged. Memories could be disputed. Owen could say he had been venting privately or helping residents express legitimate concern. Rachel wanted records tied to actual decisions. Then a new contract gave Owen the opportunity to put everything in writing. Ashford Housing Cooperative managed 3 older apartment buildings, including one where my mother's friend Marjorie lived. The cooperative announced a project to replace exterior cameras, intercoms, and door access equipment. The work would be phased over 6 months, so residents would not face one large assessment. I attended the mandatory site visit. Owen was there as a business association representative assigned to community safety. He shook my hand in front of the board members. I am glad you submitted, he said. His tone was polite enough that objecting would have made me look unreasonable. I submitted a bid anyway. My price was second lowest. My licenses, insurance, and equipment met the specifications. My references came from clients outside Ashford, as well as 3 local businesses that had kept working with me. 2 weeks later, the cooperative sent a notice requiring me to attend a contractor suitability review. The notice referenced community complaints, online reports, and a pattern of retaliatory conduct toward people who questioned my past. Owen would sit on the review panel as an advisor. Rachel read the letter and said, "This is the first useful thing he has done for us. I am about to lose a contract." He connected the rumor to a formal economic decision. That does not pay my rent. No. But it gives us a record. She requested every item the cooperative intended to consider. The policy governing suitability reviews the names of anyone who prepared the materials and a recording of the meeting. The cooperative agreed because it received public development money and had adopted an open review policy. Owen submitted 27 letters from residents and local business owners. The letters described me as unstable, vindictive, aggressive, and unsafe around vulnerable residents. Some included specific claims. One said I had been arrested at the café. One said I had broken Shane's knee. He had bruised his leg and returned to work the next day. One said I had harassed former classmates for years after causing their expulsions. None of the 4 had been expelled. 3 days before the hearing, Nate came to my workshop after closing. He parked behind the building and knocked on the side door. I was repairing a test monitor beneath the temporary plywood covering the window someone had broken the night before. The camera had recorded a hooded person throwing a brick from the alley. No face was visible. I had given the footage to police and refused to attach a name to it. Nate looked at the plywood. Was this because of the hearing? I do not know. Who else would do it? That is not evidence. He watched me for a moment. Then he placed a USB drive on the table. Owen had hired Nate's print shop to produce the hearing packets. Nate noticed that 19 of the 27 letters used the same unusual double space after periods. He checked the source files. All 19 had been created from one document. The author metadata listed Owen Price. Some residents had signed complete letters Owen provided. Others had answered a short survey and did not know their comments would appear as formal objections. One letter was attributed to Howard Mills, a retired electrician. Howard had died 8 months earlier. "Did you ask Owen about it?" I said. He said the letter might have come from an older community file. The café incident happened 6 weeks ago. I know. I looked at Nate. "Why did you cancel on me 3 times? He sat on the edge of a folding chair. "Because Owen's committees account for almost a quarter of my local printing work. That is part of it." He nodded. "My dad died. You did not call. You did not come. Then you returned and asked me for coffee as if nothing happened. I was depressed. I know that now. I should have told you. You should have come." He was right. I apologized without explaining again. Nate did not tell me it was fine. He said his daughter had come home crying after a classmate called her father a rat for printing materials connected to me. She asked why Nate always told her to stand up for people if he would not even sit for coffee with an old friend. "I am not giving you this because we are fixed," he said. "I am giving it to you because someone used my shop to turn one opinion into 19. Rachel reviewed the USB drive that night. She notified the cooperative and requested individual confirmation from every signer. The hearing was postponed 1 week. Owen posted that procedural tactics were delaying a safety review. This time, the response was different. Nate wrote publicly that his shop had concerns about the accuracy of materials it had printed. Lena posted a still frame showing Shane's hand gripping my jacket. A college student named Brady contacted her after seeing the post. He was the person who had recorded the phone video across the patio. Brady still had the original file. It began 12 seconds earlier than the version online and captured Shane saying, "Maybe call the principal again. That is the only fight you ever won." It also showed the grab. Brady said Owen had contacted him before publishing the clip and asked whether a longer version existed. Brady answered yes. Owen never requested it. By the end of the day, Owen deleted the entire post and took the community page offline for maintenance. Then the school district called. Weeks earlier, I had requested my complete student record. The district initially said old disciplinary files had been destroyed under its retention schedule. A records clerk named Felicia Grant found an off-site archive box from the year of the hallway incident. Because my name appeared as a witness and later as the target of related harassment parts of the file, qualified as my education record. The report was 46 pages long. Other students' personal information was redacted. The findings were not. The 4 boys had been disciplined based on hallway security footage, a mobile phone recording 3 student statements, 2 staff statements, prior theft and harassment reports, attendance problems, missing credits, and evidence related to a stolen examination. My statement occupied 1 page. The decision requiring Grant and Derek to repeat credits was based on work they had already failed to complete before the hallway incident. Attached to the report was a printed email from oppress.studentmedia subject hallway video. I recorded part of the incident near the gym. I do not want the others told it came from me. Evan Brooks was there and they already blame him for everything. The email was dated 1 day before Owen wrote in the old group chat that everyone should keep blaming me. I read it in my van outside the district office. For years I had imagined that finding a document like that would feel satisfying. It did not. I thought about being 17, trying to explain the truth while teachers told me not to make things worse. I thought about my father asking why I did not simply stay away from those boys. I thought about Owen also, 17, deciding that I was safer to sacrifice than he was. I understood the first decision. I did not forgive the next 10 years. My mother read the report at the kitchen table. When she finished, she said, "Your father would have driven to Owen's house. He would have been arrested." Yes. She folded the pages neatly. "I am glad you are not your father in every way." The night before the rescheduled hearing, the plywood on my workshop window rattled in heavy wind. I slept in the van beside the building because equipment was visible through the damaged frame. At 2 in the morning, I considered withdrawing my bid and closing the shop. The contract no longer felt like a victory. It felt like a test I had not agreed to take. Rachel could have attended without me. Lena said canceling would prove the damage had worked. Tyler said Owen expected me either to explode or disappear. Those arguments mattered less than the bank balance. The cooperative contract could cover shop rent insurance materials and payroll through winter. Oh, I went because I needed the work. That practical reason kept me steadier than pride would have. The library meeting room was full when we arrived. My mother watched from home. Lena came straight from the café. Nate sat near the back. Tyler arrived alone. His brother had been removed from 2 construction sites after Tyler's cooperation became known. The brother had found temporary work elsewhere and told Tyler to stop using his children as a reason to remain silent. Owen began with the speech about risk. Rachel let him finish. Then the cooperative chair, Mrs. Patel, addressed the objection letters. Nate explained the shared template author metadata and survey responses that had been converted into formal statements. Owen said templates were common and did not make the opinions false. Mrs. Patel asked about Howard Mills. Owen said the letter might have come from an older file. A woman stood from the 3rd row. She was Howard's daughter. My father was in hospice when the cafe incident happened, she said. He did not write that letter. Owen's attorney asked that it be withdrawn. Mrs. Patel removed it and placed the remaining letters under individual verification. Then the cafe surveillance played. The room watched Shane approach, insult me, touch the chair, and grab my jacket. It also watched me step toward him after removing his hand. Owen's attorney paused the video there. Mr. Brooks escalated, he said. Rachel replied. Mr. Brooks has never claimed perfect restraint. The question is why the advisor provided only footage beginning after the initial contact. Brady appeared by video and confirmed that Owen knew a longer phone recording existed before publishing the shorter clip. Owen said a community page administrator had no duty to investigate every submission. Mrs. Patel asked whether he had told the contractor review committee that earlier footage existed. He said no. The police record was entered next. It showed no charge and preserved the full cafe video. Then Tyler stood. He admitted he had participated in the alumni group and had stayed silent while people coordinated comments and calls. Grant interrupted from the audience. You always were the weak one. Mrs. Patel warned Grant that he would be removed if he spoke again. Tyler authenticated the preserved chat backup. An independent technician's report documented the device timestamps and file hashes. The messages showed Owen instructing the group to appear concerned rather than excited. They showed him asking who had hired me. They showed review language sent to Derek's wife. They showed the daycare being identified before the parent complaint. Owen's attorney argued that private discussions about safety did not prove unlawful interference. Rachel agreed that private discussion alone did not. Then she introduced the property manager's email, the grant office complaint, and the contractor review packet, each repeating factual claims that could be traced back to the coordinated messages. The room became quieter as the separate pieces stopped looking separate. Finally, Rachel gave Mrs. Patel the archived school report. Mrs. Patel summarized the findings rather than reading students' old details aloud. The 4 boys had not repeated credits because I complained about shoes or insults. The decision relied on multiple witnesses, 2 videos, prior incidents, missing work, and a stolen exam. My statement had been 1 page. Then she read Owen's email, identifying himself as the source of the mobile recording. Grant turned toward Owen. You said Evan gave them the video. Owen said we were 17. Tyler answered from the audience. You were 35 when you posted the cafe clip. Owen's attorney told him not to respond. Owen responded anyway. At 17, I thought Grant would come after me, he said. They already blamed Evan. I let them. Rachel asked, why did you continue repeating it as an adult? Owen looked around the room. His answer took longer, because by then everyone knew the story. I was the person people came to when there was trouble. If I admitted how it started, every other thing I had said became questionable. That was not a confession to every accusation in our folder. It was more human and more damaging. Owen had not spent 10 years waking up each morning planning to ruin me. He had protected one lie because it protected his position. When I returned, he treated every new event as proof that the old choice had been justified. Mrs. Patel called a recess. In the hallway, my hands shook so badly I spilled water on my sleeve. Lena asked whether I was all right. I said no. Rachel said the record is clear now. I still need the contract. I know. That was why she was useful. She did not confuse being vindicated with being solvent. When the board returned, Mrs. Patel announced that Owen was removed from the contractor suitability process for undisclosed bias and unreliable submissions. The objection letters would not be considered unless each signer confirmed the final wording. My bid would be evaluated only on licensing, insurance references, price technical compliance, and verified recent conduct. The board did not award me the contract that night. Nobody applauded. A real process ended with another review. Outside the library, Grant waited near the curb. Tyler stepped between us before Grant said anything. Grant looked at me and said, "One old report does not change what people know." I said, "It changes what you can prove." He laughed, but Owen came down the steps and walked past him without stopping. Grant called his name. Owen kept walking. 3 days later, Ashford Community Watch returned online with a notice saying Owen had stepped down as administrator pending review. The café post was removed. A correction stated that full footage showed Shane initiating physical contact and that no criminal charge had been filed. It did not apologize for the weeks of comments. It did not mention the fake reviews. Rachel said corrections became narrower when lawyers wrote them. The business association suspended Owen from committee work and hired an outside attorney to review how informal contractor objections had been handled. The daycare did not restore my job. It had already hired another company. The property manager reopened the 6-building project and asked me to update my price. I declined, not because I wanted to prove a point, but because equipment costs had changed, and I no longer trusted the company to make decisions on time. The equipment grant was approved after the city confirmed there had never been a pending assault case. The office also began verifying anonymous criminal allegations before pausing applications. 2 weeks after the hearing, the housing cooperative awarded Brooks Building Systems the contract. My bid was not the cheapest after final adjustments. The board selected it because I proposed replacing equipment 1 building at a time, offered local response within 4 hours, and included training designed for staff members who were uncomfortable with new technology. The contract did not make me rich. It paid the shop rent, insurance materials, 1 part-time helper, and enough salary that I stopped buying groceries on a credit card. That was enough to change the direction of the business. The fake reviews disappeared slowly. 2 were removed after the platform received the preserved messages, and another reviewer admitted he had never hired me. Shane signed a statement acknowledging that he grabbed my jacket before falling. He did not apologize, but I needed accuracy more than sincerity. Rachel negotiated with Owen's attorney for 4 months. We did not file a full lawsuit. It would have cost more than I could afford and kept the dispute active for years. The settlement required Owen to send written corrections to the property company, the grant office, and the business association. He reimbursed part of my attorney fees and the deposit I lost when the daycare canceled. He agreed not to contact my clients about my character unless responding to a lawful inquiry with verified information. The amount did not replace every canceled job. It replaced the broken shop window and paid the van's rear brakes. Nate lost 2 printing orders after cooperating. We later met for coffee where I apologized again for missing his father's funeral and listened to what that absence had cost him. He did not forgive me in one conversation. We rebuilt through occasional messages and small work referrals. Tyler's brother found work with another contractor. Tyler and I became friends without pretending he had not helped make my adolescence miserable. Mason called to say the alternative program had probably saved him. Grant never apologized. The person who broke my shop window was never identified. Some people assumed Owen had arranged it. Others blamed Grant. I did not attach the act to either man. The camera did not show a face, and the police found no useful print on the brick. That disappointed people who wanted every event tied to one villain. I knew what it felt like to have unrelated facts arranged into guilt. I was not going to repeat the method because it benefited me. My mother returned to her card game. 2 years later, she sold the house behind the tire shop and moved into one of the senior buildings where my company had installed the access system. She told every resident her son had done the work despite my requests that she stop. Brooks Building Systems grew slowly. I hired a technician named Omar full-time and kept the white van until the transmission finally failed. The magnetic sign faded until customers complained. Owen left the business association and began working 2 towns away. I saw him once in a grocery store. He said he had heard the business was doing well. I said it was steady. Then he told me he had been afraid of Grant at 17 and had not expected the lie to last. You kept it going, I said. Yes. He apologized. It did not repair anything. It was still the first time he said the sentence without explaining why I should understand. I told him not to do it to someone else. We left in different directions. People in Ashford still describe the library hearing as the night I exposed my high school bullies. That description is easier than the truth. The 4 boys did real things. The school punished them for more than one hallway incident. Owen made a frightened decision at 17 and then spent years protecting the version that decision created. Other people repeated it because repeating cost less than checking. I also contributed to the way people understood me. I disappeared from friends without explanation. I treated shame as privacy. I stood too quickly at the café and moved toward Shane after I had already removed his hand. I assumed a false story would die if I refused to feed it. It did not. Most rumors do not deserve a public campaign, but when a rumor begins deciding who gets work, who receives a grant, who is allowed into a building, or whether an elderly woman feels safe in her own neighborhood, it is no longer only gossip. Then facts need dates. They need copies. They need witnesses who understand what telling the truth may cost them. For 10 years, people said I ruined 4 lives because I could not take a joke. The archived report showed 2 videos, multiple witnesses' prior incidents, missing credits, and a stolen exam. My statement was 1 page. Owen's recording had been the first evidence. My revenge was not making the town like me. It was making the decisions that affected my life use the complete record. That took longer than a fight. It also changed more.